who's in 1A with us this morning. Kevin Love, good to have you, brother. Thanks for coming in. One of the things that I find most striking about your story is when this happens, you basically find out there's no one there that can help you. There's a hole in your care system, and you play for an NBA team.
That's right. And so much of the time it's manifested for me since I've been young and not being able to understand it in really terrible ways, but I always had somewhere to go. So when I had my panic attack and had my episode, I was out there on the floor. We had just come out of a timeout. I was about to check back in, and I had to find a way to get away from it all. But I ran around looking for something that I couldn't find. I ended up on the floor like you had seen in the footage, and had an episode that really scared me, and I didn't know what to think of it. I thought, this could be it. Ended up going to the Cleveland Clinic, the hospital, and everything seemed to check out. So that's when I kind of knew that I had to start dealing with this.
I've had a panic attack before where you feel like you can't breathe. And in that moment, there is nothing anyone else can really do for you. Yeah. So for people who have suffered with this, I mean, what is the advice going forward? Is it something you need to address before it ever happens?
Yes, and it's different with each demographic, I feel like. But with young kids, I would just say that to speak your truth. Nothing haunts us like the things we don't say. And it's tough to be vulnerable, whether you're male or female, but so much of it is looked at as you're not strong, you are thought less of. And it's scary to be vulnerable, like I mentioned. So it's a lot of the time is just speaking your truth and being, it makes you more evolved and feel stronger. And you realize, what I realize is there's such a community out there. There's so many people that either in their first person or within arm's reach that deal with mental wellness, mental health, mental illness on an everyday basis. So that's something that I've begun to notice, and it's something that that's why the reason that we're here.
What role does therapy play? And then I also, just kind of a double question. I feel like there are a lot of people who are struggling with this, or maybe their kids are, their teens are, and they don't know. Do you start early with the therapy, or people don't know how to go about it?
Yeah, it's really tough. Therapy has been great. It's really changed my life, going to see a trained professional. But therapy is, I think it's in some ways can be an ambiguous term, because it's really about what you need in that moment, and how you can reach different forms to work with yourself, whether it be meditation, whether it be exercise, and so on and so forth. But and therapy also doesn't have to be a trained professional. It can be a buddy, a family member, a best friend. So that's something that I've learned as well, because even in talking with my brother and my sister, I've learned things about myself when I had those blinders on when I was young and didn't understand it that I had missed.
And then you start talking to people and you realize everyone, or a lot of other folks, right?
You're not alone.
Yeah. Right.
That's super powerful as well. And I think when I had pressed send on my Players Tribune article, right away, the reaction and just the people that came out in full force to not only support me, but support the community around mental health. It was crazy. It's really vast, and it just shows you the strength of everyone, that we're able to talk about such hard-hitting topics in a time where I feel like it's much needed.
You're helping fans all over. Tell us about Madeline.
Madeline. Well, it's funny. You can't, on these social media platforms, you can't, you can't direct message somebody, but you can, unless you follow them, but you can, continue to be in the mentions and write somebody a tweet. So actually last year, after this article had come out, the father of Madeline had mentioned that she was going through a lot of tough times, had been hospitalized, had been dealing with panic attacks, depression, and he mentioned that he just that I had really helped her in telling my story and trying to end the stigma and change the conversation around mental health. And fast forward to this year, followed the father. He had reached out to me. Got her to a game and sat her front row, and we exchanged a little gift that she deals with. It's like her little reminder of what all the good things in life. So it was very cool to see the impact of these type of people on every day. And there's another kid actually in Phoenix, Mace, who had brought a sign to the game about the article. One of my teammates, Larry Nance, pointed it out. We brought them back after the game and spoke to him and his parents as well. So just seeing that reach and seeing across the league, especially with the younger kids too, because even as a kid, you don't understand it. I've been in that position, but as the parents as well, you want to know why this is happening to your kid, your son or daughter.
Kev, next time I want to introduce the world to your dog. It's an adorable dog. Next time you come, we're going to do that. If you or someone that you know, by the way, is struggling with mental health, you can call the National Alliance on Mental Illness Helpline. The phone number there on your screen, 1-800-950-NAMI. You can also go to today.com for more information. And you can also learn about the Kevin Love Fund as well. Thank you. You've done so much good for this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll be right back.